What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. And Bitcoin is pumping, baby, as the Fed has started cutting rates, starting with a 50 basis point cut. And Bitcoin has reacted really well to this, hitting our next bullish target that we've been looking at on the live stream, sitting at $62,350. And not only that, but we are now starting to break that level, potentially opening up the door for more upside. And on top of that, we've been accepted into our macro range, and things could be looking bullish, at least in the medium term. I'm also going to cover some of the things I will be looking at in case we do get a dump. But right now, things are looking up, and I want to cover those targets and that bullish signal because there's just one more level. If we get above, we could be looking up to $67,000. So with all that being said, guys, let's go ahead and jump into the charts, cover these key levels, the bullish signal, and where Bitcoin could be headed next. Let's get into it. So here we are on the Bitcoin chart, guys, and as you can see, Bitcoin is pumping. And if you guys have been watching the live streams, you will know the last key level of resistance that we were looking at was this key Fibonacci 786 retracement sitting at 62,350, and that was the next target we were looking at on the live stream last night. And as you guys can see, we did wind up getting that push right up into that level, and we got a little bit of consolidation, but we have now cracked that level of resistance. And the reason this is so important, guys, was because if we were going to see the 3-day money flow continue to the downside here and give us that big lower high on the higher time frames for that big drop back to the downside, potentially targeting the $40,000 range, this 786 could have been one of the big levels that we could have put that lower high in at, meaning if we crack this level and we're able to close a daily candle above this, we could see Bitcoin continue up to some higher prices, and we're going to go over those next targets in this video. But first, I kind of want to talk about this large volume profile that we have sitting up here. This is the big range that we've been in for what feels like forever. Now, as you guys know, with the volume profiles, whether you're looking at a 5-minute time frame or a weekly time frame, anytime you deviate below these value area lows or essentially just the bottom of these ranges, you are going to want to be looking for longs, right? We're looking at this as an oversold asset, and then the idea is you want to look for longs and buy back up into the fair value, potentially looking to get accepted into the range. And once you hold that value area low, you're looking for price to work its way up towards that POC, flip that POC, and then look to go up to the value area high. We've seen this happen time and time again within this range, rejecting the highs, going back to the POC and the low, deviating below the lows, going to the POC and the high, so on and so forth. And now we have another opportunity to remain inside this range as long as we hold this key level here, which is the value area low at about $60,000. So as long as we're able to remain above this level, we could potentially see Bitcoin start to work its way up towards that $67,000 POC. Hopefully we can get that move, guys. And I'm going to cover the next targets. There are some local levels in here, but first I want to talk about that bullish signal that we see printing on the higher time frames. Now, something we've been covering on the live streams here, guys, is that weekly green dot printing. Now, not only do we see these green dots on the weekly typically give us some kind of move to the upside. You can see the last time we got a full rotation of this range from the low to the high, we actually did wind up seeing a green dot print, bringing us all the way back up to that value area high before getting rejected all the way back down to the low. And then the last time we tried to break into the range, that was also off a weekly green dot, and now we do have another one printing. But this one may be a little bit different, as on top of this weekly green dot, if we come on down to the 10-hour time frame, you guys can see we now have the 10-hour money flow crossover into the green now occurring, which could potentially continue this larger trend to the upside, targeting that POC at $67,000. And you can see we did see something similar happening here. Last time we got above that value area low and got a significant move up, we did have that 10-hour money flow crossover into the green. Unfortunately, that did wind up getting yanked back to the downside, but with this money flow crossover on the 10-hour with that weekly green dot, sometimes when you have these high time frame green dots with the lower time frame money flow crossovers, they can give you big continuations to the upside. So it does look pretty good for me in the medium term. And again, that next target would be the $67,000 POC. Now, I am still holding my long here from about $58,000. I'll go ahead and pull that up for you guys right now. And you can see here, this is now, I think my face is covering this, but it's now a $25,000 position as I have taken some profit off the table. Still up about 87% on this trade. Shout out to Femex. But as you guys know, on the live stream, we did this live as we were seeing the push to the upside here, looking looking at that next target sitting at about $62,350. And you can see shortly after the live stream, we did run up and hit that level, which is really, really, really nice to see. So as of right now, things are looking pretty good. Now, obviously, we're going to expect low time frame volatility, but on these higher time frames, especially with the 10-hour money flow crossover, if we could see this continue into the green, I would think even if we get a pullback, we can potentially see that trend continue to the upside. Now, before we talk about the next local targets and the local levels of resistance that we need to get above before we see that POC, I do just want to mention, obviously, the 3-day money flow is still in the red here. Now, it is starting to curve back up just a little bit, which could be a good sign, but it's a little too soon to tell. So I am keeping these higher time frames in mind when it comes to money flow, and the fact that in the past, back here in 2019, when the Fed started cutting rates, they started with a 25 basis point cut. We did wind up rallying off that news, kind of similar to what's happening right now, but we only did that to come into the macro range golden pocket before putting in a lower high and continuing a larger downtrend as the Fed started cutting rates. So you guys can see here, just all these green lines are the Fed cutting rates, and you can see, like, basically once they start cutting rates, sure, you could get those short-term rallies, but it can sometimes start to cause a macro downtrend, and then eventually, once that looser monetary policy starts to kick in, that's where you start to see the bigger bull run start. Now, again, this is a different point in the market. We've been covering this on the live stream, so you can't really compare it apples to apples, but it is worth mentioning, especially with the way higher time frame money flow looks. But that's all I'll say about that, because locally, guys, as long as we stay above this value area low, we could potentially see that $67,000 target come in. And again, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our live streams, because we've been looking at all of these levels and all of these price targets between 57 all the way up to the level that we're at right now. We've been looking at all these individual targets, and they've all been absolutely smashed. Now, if we come on down to the lower time frames, guys, I will just bring up here the next major level of resistance that we have, sitting at about 63.5K all the way up to 64.5K. And you guys can see we do have a lot of confluence here, and this was that next target to the upside if we broke that 786 at 62,350. The idea on the live streams was, hey, if we wind up breaking that 62,350, the next big target is going to be this zone of resistance, and well, here we are. So this level is very, very strong, guys, in my opinion, or I should say very important. It's not that we can't smash through it, but we have two daily naked points of controls here. The closest one is sitting here at about 63,891, and we also have this naked volume profile from the last time we broke into this macro volume profile. We came up, we got rejected after creating this little area of consolidation, creating all this resistance. And we also have an anchored VWAP coming through there, which we are basically rejecting right now. It's pretty impressive how the technicals can play out so perfectly. But if we could come up into this local range, guys, and start to either build support or just get a shot right through it, the next major level that I can see on the charts is, very simply put, the POC of the range. Now, we always want to be aware of these local levels, because these are the levels that we can catch those little scalp trades on and get the little profits, jump in, grab our bag, jump out. But in the grand scheme of things, if you're a long-term investor, this is really the major range I'm looking at. Value area low at $60,000, essentially. That's the key level you want to stay on top of if you want to remain bullish here for higher prices, because once we start losing it, typically you will get a little bit more of a move down. But as long as we hold that level, we can expect to begin that journey up to about $67,000. And I say journey on purpose because sometimes you can get some volatility to come in here. People can get scared out of their positions, but for the most part, oftentimes, as long as we remain above this, we can look for those higher prices. And then once we get to the $67,000 POC, is pretty strong level, guys. And just like in that example in 2020 that I just showed, where we rejected that macro golden pocket from the high of the range, rallied on the rate cuts, put the lower high in and continued down. If we are going to see something like that, it's really hard to put a percentage chance of that happening. But if we were to see something like that happen, and it doesn't happen at the 786 that we're kind of sitting above right now, it could be happening at that POC. So just being very cautiously optimistic here, guys, because again, if we're just looking at the volume profiles, things do look pretty saucy. Even if we get some short-term cool-offs, I wouldn't really start to get concerned unless we start losing that $60,000 level. So for the most part, remain above $60,000 value area low. I'm bullish. We could continue having our targets on that $67,000 POC. And then once we flip that, that's where the fun could really begin if we're just going to see October come in a very big way and give us that massive bull run that everybody wants to see start up here. That's the level to break. Then we can reassess the situation. And locally, that 63.5 to 64.5K zone is the big level to get above before I'm calling a pretty certain move to $67,000. So with all that being said, guys, that's all the time I got for today's quick market update. Hopefully this helps you out. Go mark these levels on your chart. And with all that being said, that's all the time I got for this video. I'll see you in the next one. Frankie Candles out.
Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Maxed out.